we'll stick with this, and I'll just look at you guys anyway. All right, welcome guys. My name is Gabriel Quinn. I am an artist. I'm a concept artist and illustrator. I've worked for animation, game projects, all that stuff. I illustrate sometimes for Disney's Lorcana. And today we're just going to be talking about inking. I'm going to be inking some sketches and having a fun time. So that's what we're doing today. So yeah, we're going to have to try and edit that first section out where I was super adrift, let's just say, um, in my efforts to get the stream to work. I was wrestling with my audio for probably about an hour trying to get it to work. There's this strange hissing sound and all this stuff. Anyway, you guys don't care about that. So let's drop a link for the patrons in the Discord. There we go. Bam. All right. So I'll remove that. Bam, bam. There we go. Okay. So yeah, so today I'm going to be streaming for, gosh, I don't even know how long. Maybe an hour or so? Maybe less, maybe more. Really, I just wanted to go live and touch base with you guys, just kind of hang out a bit more. So that's the plan for today. So I've pulled up a poster image I was working on. This is something I did as kind of a pitch image when I was at New York Comic Con to show publishers, because I've been developing more comic pitch ideas that I want to work on. This idea is called Son of No One, which is pretty awesome. And this had a lot of great responses when I was at Comic Con. Some publishers really liked the aesthetic and the vibe, and it's a work in progress image, but I thought it kind of showed a really fun aesthetic, kind of ties a lot of who I am together, if that makes sense. So I'm going to be doing some inking today, I guess. And you may be asking yourself, what is inking? Well, I will tell you what inking is. Oh, what's up, Abe? So let's say you have a loose sketch, and traditionally in comics, people tend to use a blue pencil, or at least they'll pencil stuff in whatever pencil, but they'll print it out in like a blue ink. And the reason for that is back in the day, only like when you take a photograph and you have the exposure settings such that all it captures is like deep black pigment. It doesn't really capture any other color, any other values. It's called shooting for blacks, which is sort of like the comic term where you're just trying to capture the blacks of the image. You essentially, it ignores all of the blue that's there. So pencilers would pencil in like a composition in blue, or then it would be printed in blue, who knows. And then an inker would come in and they would ink on top of the blue in a really vivid black color. And then when they took a picture of it, they were able to just have that photograph be of that like jet black inking. So all of the sketching disappears and all of that fun stuff. If you look at an inking page from a comic, it's really cool to look at. Let me see if I can find one. Because oftentimes there's a lot more like whiteout and things pasted on top and all of this stuff. Like there's so much information that let me see if I can find a good example of this. But there's like so much whiteout and editing and changes. Yeah, this is a good example. This is one example. So I'll paste this image in Photoshop here so we can look. So what's fun about this is you can see some of the notations that were made on this image. This might have been done on a light table or who knows what happened, but you can see that there's a pretty heavy use of whiteout on this image. But when they took a photograph of this page so that they could reproduce it in print, you wouldn't see the difference from like white and cream. It would just be the generic white of the page you're printing on. So there was a lot of this editing going on in traditional comics. Like there's this kind of idea that these inkers would kind of come in and just do like a flawless job first try. And sometimes they did, like sometimes they were really, really good. But a lot of the time there's some heavy, heavy editing. My favorite ones are where you see like a lot of things like pasted over other things. I'm trying to find an example of that. I don't know if I'll be able to. But it is a really cool thing. Like sometimes they'll literally like, paste pages on top so that they can redraw a section of the page or something. Here's another great example where you can see some real heavy use of whiteout in this image. So yeah, when you're looking at really, really finely done comic pages, just remember that there was a lot of looseness. Here you see the blue behind, actually, so you can see those really nice blue sketch lines and kind of rhythm lines that would just completely disappear. And what's cool is that in the comic world, there are kind of different jobs for different things. Like you would have someone who just lettered, all they did was write the type, and people who were just inkers, people who were just pencilers, and all of that stuff. And you have the writers, and it's quite the team to create a comic, really. But the process still kind of stays true to this day. A lot of people work in this kind of old school process where they have their kind of very loose, their loose sketch page, and then they would kind of go into the inking phase. And when you ink things, you're working really in a whole new medium. It's kind of cool. So we're gonna be doing some of that. I think I'll probably make a new PSD here so that I can work a little bit more landscape, but we'll borrow that same cream color because I like it a lot. I might just sketch a bit more today and engage less with the chat. I mean, we'll see. We'll see who pops in. Let's take a quick check. Who's dropping in? Oh, we got Abe, Ryan, CJ. Nice. Awesome. Thanks for dropping by, guys. But yeah, I think I'll do some sketches and then just do some fun inking. So, gosh, yeah, what to ink today? I might do a character from my Sky Pirates IP, just because it's been a while since I've done one, and I'm kind of feeling the itch, if that makes sense. Hey, what up, Taz? How's it going? Long time no see. And Nabs. Nice. Nice. Taz and Nabs. Awesome. So when you're working in blue, typically when you're doing like comic stuff, and some people do red as well. That's another one that's more of a modern color for like undersketching and stuff. But red is also really good. But it's kind of like your thinking color. So you're thinking about the composition, and you're trying to lay out something compelling, and you have a lot of freedom because this is literally, you're just kind of laying things down. There's not a lot of pressure. You don't have to be precious with it. You're kind of just trying things out, if that makes sense. So I'm thinking with this one, I might... I'm feeling this kind of image of, in the kind of Sky Pirates world, there are a lot of like flight crafts and a lot of kind of pilots who fly these things. So I might do kind of one of those pilots who's about to kind of take off, if that makes sense. So we might add some goggles here. I might do like a more of a fun design for the goggles and keep it a little bit less generic and maybe a bit more interesting. Well, if it covers the nose, it would kind of fog up the glasses, right? So we'll see. We'll try a few things when we get to it. But I like this composition of maybe they're kind of pushing something along. So if this was kind of a compositional image, we would kind of see them, dealing with whatever contraption is here. So we can push this arm back, and maybe they're holding onto some handle here, or maybe they've just got their hands on it, so we can kind of see maybe their thumb coming over and the rest of the hand on the other side, something like that. Maybe the thumb's going more this way, who knows? Someone said, Hayes said Plague Doctor goggles. Maybe. Could do. The Plague Doctor aesthetic, although very cool, I guess it's just kind of a little, I don't know, for me, it's a little played out. And that's probably not fair to say just because it's like a really cool historical thing. And I guess really cool historical things get used a lot, but I don't know. There's something to me where it feels a little played out, I guess. I am usually more likely to go for something either way more classic or just like really obscure and just like design my own version of the thing. So I think I'll kind of imply that there's some kind of seat here maybe, and like maybe we'll keep it a mystery, like it kind of maybe looks like a bike or something. We'll put some handlebars here, and maybe they've got one hand on the handlebars as they're kind of pushing this contraption. But I always love those kind of seats where the cushion is almost kind of pleated, if that makes sense. Like I love that look. That look is so cool to me, anyway. And right now this is a bit of a flat image. Like there's not a lot coming towards you or coming away. We're kind of looking in at someone, perspective wise, we're not that far away. Like, camera lens is probably something like a 50 or whatever. So we're standing like a few feet away from this character, but we're not super far away. Yeah. Just kind of turns over here. Nice. So there's many different components that clarify what an image is, especially a drawing. And you can kind of include or exclude any of those components. Like, for instance, color and light tell you a lot about the texture and the material, the setting, the environment, but you don't really have to include color and light in your image. I mean, there's always going to be some kind of implication of light, really, but you don't have to go crazy with it per se. However, when you do, what's interesting is that, in the world of comics, especially if you're doing the whole process yourself, you can really plan for, I don't know, certain elements of your drawing. So maybe you're being a bit more sparing with the lines because you're going to be using a lot of kind of color, light, and texture to be giving more information to the viewer. Like it's definitely possible. One thing I love is little details that kind of add a lot of character to articles of clothing. So for instance, having a pocket that is like double lined essentially really shows that it's like on there tight, maybe like a bolt even on the corners. Like those kind of things like tell you a lot about a garment and whether or not it's sturdy and strong. And again, we're just giving ourselves information here. I think I want to do a pretty sick female character for this one. Like I'm imagining this pilot is maybe somewhere in between like a pirate, but not really. Like maybe they're kind of more of like kind of just like an adventurer kind of energy. Maybe they work with pirates, they know the pirates, but they themselves aren't really a pirate that much. Like that kind of vibe, I love that kind of vibe. So we'll like so the kind of strange in between of it all. Maybe they'll work with pirates on occasion, but maybe they'll also work with the kingdom or something, because there's kind of a sort of a kingdom, I suppose. Who knows? Professor Buck says, "Howdy, what up, Professor Buck?" Aurora says, "I think what's incredibly underutilized in the Plague Doctor vibe is the sense. The mask had sense." That's true. The long beak of the Plague Doctor mask was filled with herbs and aromatics that were supposed to protect and kind of filter the air and make it so that they wouldn't get sick. It's a pretty cool thing. Aurora says, "We also don't have tons of evidence of them. The main thing was that old doctors believed that the sense of illness was how people caught it." Yeah, it was all about air, bad air, good air. They were obsessed with air for health back in the day. It's kind of interesting, But if you guys have seen The Wind Rises in like the Ghibli lore, like actually I won't say anything about that because you should watch it if you haven't seen it, and I refuse to spoil Ghibli movies for people. Even if they've been out forever, I refuse to. They're too good. So we've got our character here. They're kind of mounting their strange vehicle, and remember, these are sky people, so they live in the sky. So I'm imagining these kind of machines, I imagine them to be in large part like really skeletal almost, because you can't afford weight when you're flying in the air. You really have to bring the weight down. So I'm imagining, even though it's like steel fabrication work and all that stuff, like there are those kind of treatments and beams where you're getting like the structure integrity, but you're punching out areas of material that are going to allow your aircraft to be lighter. So like the cool thing about removing circles from pieces of metal is that like it does in some ways reduce the strength, but really it's still very much supported. Like those round shapes are really nice. They're not going to snap and break as easily as like a rigid shape, for instance. So I always love that kind of aesthetic of the hole punched metal, especially for these kinds of crafts and whatnot. So this is kind of like a high area of complexity in terms of the design. So who knows how we're going to ink that when we get to it. But for now, we're just kind of implying that, let's just say. Also, the character's kind of looking over their shoulder here at you. So, you know, maybe it's like a look of urgency. We got to think about like the narrative here. You know, maybe it's kind of like a one eyebrow raise, like, you know, maybe they're talking to the protagonist and they're like, you know what, I'm going to be all right, kid. Don't worry about me. You know, like you don't have to worry about me. Everything's going to be all right, but maybe it's not all right. Or maybe it is. Who knows? But yeah, we've got this kind of shape. You know, we got to think about what kind of hairstyle. I mean, like if this character is going up into the sky, I'm assuming they probably, you know, have a more of like a slicked back bun, I'm assuming. I don't know. I would imagine so. Or, oof, don't tempt me. I love doing like a big braid. Like they could have like a big braid because it would maybe like trail behind them, almost like a little like a trail thing. Or they could have like a classic, like the classic, you know, like pilot hat. That's also a good one to have as well for your character, like something very functional to kind of sell the vibes. And then maybe out of the back of the hat, there's like an indication of some kind of braids and whatnot. We can do big goggles, big flight goggles. I think one thing I want to do is imply a lot of power to this machine. So one thing to imply power is having like a large exhaust, because you need a big exhaust for a powerful engine, right? So we'll do like very big exhaust here and maybe here to kind of show like, oh snap, this thing's pretty powerful. And of course echoed on the other side too. And that's going to kind of tell the audience like, oh damn, like this thing's pretty slick. This thing's you know, booming. The engine's booming. So that's something we really want to emphasize there, I think, for sure. Let's see. The kind of outturned, flared exhaust is always fun. Gosh. Drawing these kind of like engineered items are always so cool. Like I have so much fun with it. Those of you guys who saw the stream yesterday, I showed some of the things that I've been making out of leather, which is pretty fun. And today I also made a whole bunch of stuff out of leather, man. I made like this whole set thing that contains the, you know, it contains all the pieces of a woodcut set, or it's or like a lino cut set. Like I made this whole thing. Anyway, I'll show you next time I stream because it's in the other room and I don't want to get up right now. Tiny Mansion says 3 lives in 3 days. Been loving the streak, dude. Me too. I've been really enjoying being live every day. It's been a lot of fun, and it's getting me back in my groove, if that makes sense. It's been super... My life has just been... Oh, my gosh. Intense in a very mundane way. So it's like not even like a fun intense. It's not like I'm climbing mountains or, you know what I mean, like solving the world's problems. I'm just really just busy. And it really was getting to me. So I'm glad I'm able to just be live more and prepare for the course I'm doing in March, which I haven't made available to get seats for it yet. That's going to happen probably over the weekend. So look out on Monday for an update on that. Speaking of, I'm going to I'm going to be not live tomorrow or Sunday because I'll be at some events which I have to go to. I'm like facilitating stuff for this like conference for young people who are all trying to get involved with community service. So I'm going to be facilitating some stuff there, which will be fun. Got the collar, the arm going back. Hands getting covered by the exhaust here. All right, we're getting into kind of a level of visual complexity that we got to be careful of, because one thing to remember is that we have complete and total autonomy and control over our image, right? This is the cool thing about visual art that is harder to do with other mediums, like, which is that you have complete and utter autonomy. Like, I put every line down on this page. I decided where everything's going. It's not like it just happened magically. It's like I wanted things to go in a certain place, and I made sure that was the case. So, when designing this kind of stuff, it can be easy to feel like maybe you don't have as much control, but you do. So let's kind of take a look at some of the elements that I'm just becoming aware of now, which is that there's a lot of visual information here with the exhausts and like the hand going down there, and the hand kind of turning over here, the kind of the back here, and that other arm kind of going back in that way. It's starting to look not so good in my opinion. So let's try and see what happens if we just put the other arm going forward on the other handlebar. It loses a little bit of that kind of energy that goes back. So let's just see if we can maybe simplify this shape and instead just kind of have the arm kind of just gently going back instead of going all the way down. And maybe it just disappears behind the exhausts here. And we can just kind of trust that the audience knows where the hand is. Let's try that. We'll try that on, see how that goes. Achilles says the chat is slow again. Dude, it is. It is. Well, I am streaming on a Friday. That's like a no-no. If you stream on Friday, it's usually the day where everyone's busy. So it's kind of like Friday night is a tough slot, I think. Ryan said, yo, Gabriel, didn't you make a puppet mask a while back? That thing was so amazing. I did. I absolutely did. And I'm going to build it properly in time. I was hoping to do it for Lightbox, but just too many things came up and I couldn't get it done. So that was kind of sad. But yes, I am intending on finishing the cool Goblin King puppet mask. It was a really, really fun project that I wish I got to finish. But it'll come to life soon enough, I think. We'll see. But yeah, thanks for asking about that. That was a really fun build that I was working on. So many people who ink or make comics, like, they have different methods that work for them. So for instance, some people get really descriptive with their blue lines, like essentially what I'm doing now. They get really descriptive. For me, I like to strike a balance. So for instance, on the hand here, I've put down pretty much no information at all. And then for the belt area, I put in some kind of landmark information for me to refer back to later. But really, it's not that much information. I put a lot of information here because that's something that I think I want to ink pretty close to what I've drawn. Whereas it's hard to do that. Or it's not hard to do that, but it's like you can choose what you want to clarify a lot in the kind of thinking stage that I'm in right now. Another thing to keep in mind is like setting, right? So I'm imagining this person is maybe in like some kind of hangar bay or something. At least that's what's in my brain for them to be doing. So I want to imply that somehow, but I don't know. I mean, maybe they're like leaving some kind of, maybe they're leaving some kind of hangar and they're about to go off on kind of an adventure. So I'll be using a lot of strong kind of black shapes on this side to kind of show maybe some of the architecture and stuff behind that's there. I might do that kind of as like a last thing as I'm finishing. So let's do a quick time check on how we're doing. All right, we're almost like 30 minutes in, so that's pretty cool. Let's do a couple more blue line sketches just for fun, so that we have a few things to ink before I gotta bounce. So that's a cool like scene, almost from a comic. But let's do some other stuff too. Like let's do maybe like a portrait just for fun. We'll do a for funsies portrait. Bring a lot of energy in. Ooh, very thinking, menacing kind of energy here. We'll do a very angular nose. I spoke a lot about noses and stuff on the last couple streams, so we'll give this guy a really interesting nose. Yeah, baby. Yeah, noses are definitely my favorite part of the face to draw, even more so than eyes. Honestly, eyes these days have been feeling kind of tedious to me. I much prefer drawing noses. I don't know why. I'm just in a nose mode these days, I guess. So yeah, so I'm imagining the structure of this face. It's a bit on the kind of diabolical side. Kind of implied this is maybe a villain character. So we're going to make the eyes really dramatic, because you can always do those really dramatic eyes for villains. And those really pushed eyebrows are always good. Can push the mouth and the jaw back quite a bit, kind of caricature that area a lot. So I'm doing this kind of freehand, and that's because I think I've drawn this kind of face like probably a lot of times, so it's kind of in my brain, if that makes sense. So I don't have to check super hard in terms of structure as much, although it's always good to check your structure and whatnot for these kind of things. I always love the side look for villains. Yeah, giving that kind of side eye, if that makes sense. Oh, we made him a little derpy. Watch out. It's a little bit better. So I watched Wicked, the feature film, and I watched it with my girlfriend because she loves it and she like really wanted me to see it, and I was like, all right, fine. I'm not the biggest musical theater guy. I just like the style of singing is just kind of sometimes a little grating for me personally. But I went to go see this film, and I was very pleasantly surprised. I actually had a lot of fun watching the movie, and I mean the voices didn't have the same like affect as the stage production, which is probably I think why I wasn't too put off. It was a little corny, but I mean it's gonna be corny, right? It was on Broadway. Anything on Broadway is gonna be corny, really, to be honest. But I actually had a lot of fun watching it, and I was very pleasantly surprised. So the unfortunate byproduct of this event is that all the songs are stuck in my head, and I don't even necessarily like them that much. Like it's not like I think they're amazing songs, but they are stuck in my head. Like it's bad. So now I've just got this playlist in my head that just keeps cycling over and over and over, and I don't know what to do about it. It's kind of concerning, maybe. All right, well, if we're doing a villain, they got to have a crazy collar, obviously. And it's not just because every character I draw is a crazy collar. There's a reason. It's because he's the villain. Okay? So don't come after me. All right? Oh, there you go. Yeah, it happened to you too, Nebs, with cats. Oh gosh, cats I haven't taken that leap yet. Not yet, but who knows? I heard all the songs are earworms as well, which is like, it's just like, why? Why you gotta be that way? All right, now this guy's looking pretty good. I like this guy a lot. I think I want to rework the hair a little bit though, because I feel like villains need more energy or less energy in the hair. You know, you see a lot of bald villains, that happens a lot. We could just do a classic bald villain, but that's not as fun, right? We want it to be like interesting. Our table's broken says, hello, who are you drawing? Is it an OC? What is an OC? What is that? OC is an original character. Okay, interesting. Well, I will tell you, I never do fan art, really. I think the only fan art I've ever posted was a Spider-Man fan art, so... But I don't really do fan art, so I guess everything I draw is an OC, really, if it's an original character. So, yeah, I guess it is an OC, but this is my first time drawing this character, so I don't know if that means I don't know what the qualifications for an OC are, really. That's the like the Tumblr thing and like the DeviantArt thing, right? Everyone calls what they're all called like OCs. It's all coming back to me. An imaginary character. Yeah, all right. Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess it's an OC. What should we name this OC? I really want to do Garth. Just because I think the name Garth is really funny. And I feel like, but a Garth is more of a heroic name, no? Is Garth the name of a villain, really? Aurora said, this guy definitely sold me a lemon in a sketchy warehouse. A magic lemon. It's got to be a magic lemon. And then our table's broken said, like, you make up the character yourself with a personality. Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I guess this character has a personality. They're villainous, and I'm making them up as I draw them, I guess. So there you go. Who knew? We've been making OCs this whole time. By the way, cool art style. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I love my art style. I think my art style is freaking awesome, dude. I really enjoy drawing in my art style a lot, which I guess is a good sign. I always have a lot of fun with my characters when I'm really working like in my style. It's just so much fun. Yeah. Oh, look at this. Look at this villainous character. Yes. The master plan. Yes. Nice thick neck for this villain. It's interesting how once you give a character a thick neck, they just take on such more of a brutish personality. Like if I were to thin this neck out a little bit, even more, it has a completely different energy. Like neck thickness is like a weird metric of value, but it matters a lot to how characters are perceived. Nab said, yes, the lingo originated on Tumblr and swapped over to other social medias. Ah, I see. The OC thing. Aurora said, Gabriel is a professional character designer, so he makes a lot of character designs. That's true. That's true. Yeah. Our Table's Broken said, I was here yesterday. I asked if this live was only for the boys. Ah, I remember. Well, I mean, today's also kind of only for the boys, really. So, you know, we're inking for the boys today, unfortunately. So, just what's going on, man. The boys need the ink. I guess like next week's stream should be doing some painting for the ladies. I guess we'll have to do that. Seems like it would be appropriate, right? If we do something for the boys, we gotta do something for the ladies. All right, let's see here. My timbers are shivering. True. Schmarm versus Brute. Exactly. Exactly, Rorus. Rorus said, I guess I will have to return when you're drawing for the omens. Whoa. Fair enough. Fair enough. All right, let's see what we got going on. This is going pretty well. I like this guy a lot. He's cool. Kind of creepy, but in a good way. In a way that's working, I'll say. What up, Robert? Welcome to the chat. Our Table's Broken said, do you sell? Do I sell? Like, do I sell what? What do I sell? Figure Drawing says, that's dope. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Nice, Aurorus. Nice. Do I sell Magic Evil Lemons? I wish I sold Magic Evil Lemons, man. Do I sell my art? I mean, it depends. So that's a good question. So for instance, like I get hired to do art a lot. So like I'll get hired from like Ravensburger, the company. They do the puzzles. They also do Disney's Lorcana. So like I'll draw for them. Like I did a cool Donald Duck illustration for Disney's Lorcana. That was cool. So I work primarily for contract with art. So a video game company or like an animation company will hire me to do a lot of characters for like a pitch or something. Like I work primarily on like the first leg of a project. So if you think about production from the idea phase through to the kind of execution and publishing, I occupy mostly this first section. So when they're doing all the ideas, that's typically when I'll get hired to come in and do a bunch of characters or do some images that'll help them develop their story. And that's what I'll do. And these days, I'm also teaching a lot, which is really fun. So I teach character design and kind of story and stuff, and I mentor a lot of art students. That's been the most fun I've been having recently, has been teaching, because it's just cool. But yeah, I tabled this year at Lightbox Expo. So that was actually the first time in a long time where I sold my art. Like I sold prints of my art, and that went really well. So I was really happy about that. I was able to get a new laptop, which was sick. So that was cool. So sometimes I sell my art, like I do prints on occasion, but not super often, I don't think. But sometimes. Figure drawing says, "Are you a fan of Rake and or Godtail?" Okay, embarrassingly, I do not know what those things are. However, I'm gonna do a quick Google and see if I like it. Let's see. Whoa, that's intense. I mean, technically, very impressive. I think the subject matter is not for me personally. And I think for the second one you mentioned, the Godtail artist, I think it's a similar story. It's just the subject matter is not really for me. Like I tend to personally I tend to avoid that kind of stuff typically. But that's just me. That's just me. But technically very impressive artists. Always a good thing. Always a good thing to be good. I love your frankness. Hey, thanks, man. Robert is one of the community regulars. It's true. Robert's the homie. And very skilled, too. Robert's good. Watch out. Let's see. I kind of want this to be going down more on this guy. Yeah. I think if I were to describe like my art taste, it's definitely more like along the lines of like what Studio Ghibli is aiming to do. Like Studio Ghibli is really aiming to like empower people in like a really meaningful, wholesome and like concrete way. It's very like actionable, which is sick. I love that. So I think I prefer to stay within the bounds of what those kinds of projects are aiming to do, which is namely empower people. Like I think that's what a lot of artists want to do. So that's kind of what I like. Typically, that's what I'll do. Um, yeah, I'll leave the NSFW stuff for the people who like really want to do that and enjoy that. Aurora said, "Don't forget to like the video." Dude, thanks, Aurora. You rock. Yeah, like and subscribe and comment what you want to see more of. I guess really. We're like a really small community, which I still love. Like I love that this is still such a small and like intimate YouTube community. I know eventually it will not be that. It will be very busy and intense, and I will not be able to have the same kind of hangout and engagement with you guys as I am now. So I'm really just enjoying what it is now. All right, so this guy's pretty fun. I like this guy. He's looking pretty good. I think we can move on. Let's do one more sketch that we'll ink before we move to inking. Maybe we'll do a creature this time. Some kind of creature. Ooh, I know. We'll do like a monkey character. I've been having a lot of fun with monkey characters recently. They've been doing me right. He's pretty fun. It's inking time. Yes, it is, Marco. Oh, you guys talking about Arcane? Yeah, Arcane was good. I wish that Netflix let them actually have the runtime that they wanted to have for the season 2, but they put some serious limitations on them. I think on a last minute level as well. So they had to edit and wrap up a lot of stuff a little bit too fast for my liking personally. Let's see. Figure Drawing says, on a personal interest note, you mentioned 3 amazing comic artists prior. Can you name drop 3 illustrators that compel you? Ooh, this is a good question. I mean, I guess I'll drop some initial ones that I just like that I think everyone else likes. Like, I love Alphonse Mucha. I love J.C. Leyendecker. And I love Norman Rockwell. Like, obviously, I love those guys. But I'm going to name drop some ones that maybe you haven't heard of, which were very formative to my style and my sensibilities, which is I really enjoy Ivan Bilibin. Very, very compelling, I believe, Russian illustrator from the golden age of illustration. Really interesting compositions and pages and subject matter. Like, I really like Ivan Bilibin's work. Another one that I love is K. Nelson. K. Nelson, spelled with a K, is a really compelling illustrator, again, from that kind of golden age of illustration, which I really love. And who else as an illustrator do I really, really enjoy? Who else? Let's see. Gotta think about this one. Let me see here. I mean, like, I'm trying to think of categorically, like, an illustrator, not like, you know, someone that does like a bunch of things, like someone who's like a real, like an actual illustrator. Let's see. I mean, one thing I'll say, I got 2 actually. So one, which I really love, is Franklin Booth, which is an OG pen and ink illustrator from way back in the day. And Franklin Booth's work is insane to look at. It's crazy. But I'll name drop a contemporary artist that's living now that I really enjoy, which is Wiley Beckert, who's honestly a big inspiration for me. I love Wiley Beckert's work. It's just really compelling and magical and striking and just very powerful. I also remember, because this was later, because when I was younger, I played a lot of Magic the Gathering, but then I stopped for like, almost a decade, really, like 8 years or so. And then I picked it back up recently, and I found out that Wiley Beckert had also done a ton of art for Magic. So it was cool to come back to a game that has now like welcomed into their roster like an artist that I really, really enjoy and really respect. So Wiley Beckert's a really, really talented and skilled artist. But contemporary illustrators, oh my gosh, there's so many that I love. Yeah, Wiley Beckert is next level good. And just like from what I know, just a really good person, so that's good. Would love to meet Wiley one day. Definitely an artist I'm excited to meet. All right, now we got to start inking before we run out of time. This one's kind of funny. I like this one. I think his face needs to be bigger. Let's put him on a rock. All right, so to ink these, I'm going to be taking a pretty loose inking approach, I think. I'm not going to be going too hard or too super high fidelity or anything. So let's pick a good inking brush. Let's see. Go for a flat brush. Flat brushes are always fun. Let's see, is this the one? Hard elliptical. Yeah, I think we'll ink with this one. So we can start with our guy, actually. So we'll reduce the opacity a little bit. And so when you're inking, what's kind of cool is you really get to say a lot with a little. So you're mainly focused on these kind of contour lines where you're showing the silhouette of a shape. That's really nice. Right? There's a lot of edges. And you want to make sure that your forms are pretty clear. So even though you're using kind of thicker lines, like the kind of overlaps in form are oftentimes pretty important to keep distinguished. All right. Putting those nice furrowed kind of wrinkle lines on the top of the nose, and I could probably add a couple here as well. Those kind of lines, those tension lines, they kind of show where there's like a bit more, I guess, like pushed extenuation in the face. So like if you're pushing those lines around the nose, like it's kind of showing that the nose is kind of perched up. And when you're doing that smile, your nose can kind of come up too. So adding those little lines can add that devious little like, you know? And when you're drawing faces, you're always trying to keep track of the opportunities that you have with the face. All right. And when you're drawing this kind of stuff, like oftentimes what you can do is you can actually kind of edit and change things as you're inking things out. Like minute changes will happen anyway, but you can be deliberate in kind of a fun way. So if we're just using black here, we're not using color, I'm going to kind of black out those little recesses of gums because that's just going to add like a lot of intensity to the teeth that I think we kind of need in an image like this. Also, I love drawing a lot of chipped teeth. It's probably because I have quite a few chipped teeth. But but yeah. Awesome. Sinem Kiyamas says, "So glad you're back, dude. Thank you." I don't know why, but that name sounds Turkish. It's probably not, but I'm probably totally off base with that one. Oh, figure drawing lives 50 minutes away from the Wizards of Coast headquarters. That's awesome. I mean, I'm pretty frustrated that their business practices recently have been pretty frustrating, but we don't really talk about that stuff in the stream. But I will let my discontent be heard a little bit. I mean, if I got the opportunity to work on Magic, I wouldn't turn it down. So it's like I can't really talk then, to be honest. It is Turkish? Let's go! All right. Awesome. My girlfriend is Azeri Turkish, so she's been teaching me like a little bit, I guess, here and there. Çok güzel. It's one I know. That's pretty much it. It's pretty much all I know. In Turkey. Turkish is a beautiful sounding language, though, I will say. Oh, man. Oh, you forget how much fun inking is, dude. This is really fun. Good grief, this is fun. Starting to get into a rhythm and flow and everything. Nice. Let's see if I missed any messages in the chat. There's been a lot going. Been reading Witch Hat Atelier. I haven't read that one. Shout out to Dave Greco. True. Man, everyone's popping off in the chat. Let's go. Ryan says, Figure Johnny says, speaking of monkeys, the monkey comes out in theaters next month. Oh. Might have to check that out. Etymology knower. Maybe a little bit. A little bit. Sinem says, I always wonder what it sounds like to other people. Well, there you go. Got commissioned for a new traditional tattoo. It's been fun to hard ink again. Nice. Yeah, tattoo design. Oh, man. Maybe one day I'll say. I usually say no to people who ask me for tattoo design commissions just because, like, I don't know. Yeah, true, true, true. I guess I think about the permanence a lot. But that stuff makes me kind of uncomfortable, I suppose. Like, I could never be a barber, even though hair grows back. Like, I could never, like, I would never want that kind of pressure. But that's just me. That's just me. You know? Oh, one sec, guys. Okay, I'm back. Okay, we're back. I disappeared for a moment. There was a disturbance in the force. Look, there was a disturbance, Luke. Man, my grandfather can do a perfect impression of like OG Obi-Wan. Perfect. I've been working on mine. It's hard. Luke, your father turned to the dark side. See, it's not. Nope. See, it's not it. That's not it. It's bad. I got the Luke down though. Luke. It's pretty good. Kind of sad you'll never experience Turkish just phonetically. I mean, I feel the same way about English. You know, I can never appreciate the beauty of the English language just phonetically. It's so sad. You know, it's mad unfortunate for real, for real. Whenever I'm inking, sometimes I think about uh, that one guy who did all the pre-production design for Disney's Hercules. I think his name is Gerald Scarf. Gerald Scarf is a wild illustrator. The designs he did for Hercules were really good. I think they kind of missed out, to be honest, on his designs. Like, I think they went a little too far away from. Well, actually, I don't know. Who am I? But let me show you some of it. Like, look at this. It's pretty cool, right? Some of the OG pre-production stuff for Disney's Hercules. Look at the energy. The way this guy would ink is it. He inks like it looks like how he would ink, like just super energetic. He would like do something like this in like 20 minutes. He's just so fast and so with so much energy. Really interesting illustrator. There's like footage of him online drawing too on YouTube, I think. So Gerald Scarf, check it out if you're curious. All right, let's do a quick time. Okay, we've been live for about an hour, so let's see how far we can get with these inkies. I gave myself a little too much to ink, to be honest. I just loved sketching a little too much there. So one thing that's cool about digital art is you can kind of use custom brushes that you have. So for instance, if I want to do like a stitch line, I can kind of use my stitch line brush that I made and do a stitch line. Which can add a lot of definition pretty quick. But I'll take a 50% eraser and just knock it back a little bit. Don't want it to be that pronounced. Too noisy. All right. Hmm. Maybe we don't want the stitches there. Because usually for a jacket, they hide the stitches on the inseam or whatever it's called. Man, I would love to learn how to make clothes. Sounds like so much fun. Maybe one day. Let's hop back over here. Whoa. Whoa, whoa, whoa. Cheating? Yeah, true. The stitch brush is definitely cheating for sure. Figure drawing says, what do you think of Jin Kim? Let's see. Oh, yeah. This is the Disney guy, right? Yeah, really strong work. Really strong work. I mean, all those Disney VizDev artists are, you know, they can really draw. Oh, they were on Tangled. Nice. Yeah, really, really strong. Those snake inks from Hercules you just showed are very Gabriel Core. Dude, well, there's a reason I showed them to you. I like them. I think it's good art. Michael Howe. What up, Michael? I'm just inking a face. I'm just inking today for fun. For the boys, really. So we're just enjoying inking, enjoying the fun of inking. This guy's almost done, I think. Just got to do the hair. All right, see you, Auroras. Take care. Thanks for dropping in. Marcus says, is anyone else getting the stream audio slightly lower now? From earlier or from just now? Oh, I know what happened. Really? How does that even work? I'll fix it. All right, should be back. I turned the audio down. I had to talk to somebody, but I turned the audio down and I had it boosted and it turned off those settings for somehow, some way. All right, should be better. Sorry about that lull in the audio, guys. That whole side of streaming, the technical side, sometimes it drives me insane. But it's the name of the game, baby. Technology. So yeah, here you can really drop in those structure lines. If you want to get fancy, you can start kind of doing some curved hatching if you want to kind of get that comic-y look and really include a lot of hatching in to kind of show form and texture. I think I'm going to keep it pretty low-key for this one today. But in the future, we absolutely can. One thing I will do, though, is I will black out the eyebrows. Blacked out eyebrows just look really good, in my opinion. All right, we'll stick with it. I'll keep streaming till I get this stuff inked, and then I gotta go spend some quality time with my lady love, whom I love very much. So what's tempting here is I am tempted to kind of black out a whole section, like this whole underside. And when you start blacking sections out like that, you're setting some rules. Number one, you're gaining the advantage that you're showing form really effectively. So you're showing that like that is in shadow, which gives structure to the object in a way that it wouldn't have otherwise had structure. But once you start doing that, it's you kind of gotta do it sparingly or just smartly, and you can't go crazy, or I guess you can. There's no rules to this, but I don't know. I like doing really intense like heavy blacks for some shadows, but if you do it sparingly in a successful way, you get really strong results. And if you do it kind of in a haphazard way, it really diminishes the quality of your drawing, like a lot. When I did the last character design fundamentals class, that was like a huge thing, was teaching people how to like ink blacks for their line art for their character. Like a lot of people did not know how to accurately ink their pieces properly. But it's a really tough skill, and you really got to earn it. So it kind of makes sense that it's not easily attainable for people, I suppose. All right, let's see if we can bring this home. You always got to balance with art the balance of not rushing, but then also maintaining energy. Like you got to be kind of careful usually. Figure Drawing says, thank you. I'm drooling over Franklin Booth's art. Oh, dude, Franklin Booth. So good. Crazy good. And, like, it's weird because you kind of forget, like, what we're doing. Because, like, we're just looking at art that's on the internet all the time. And, like, a lot of artists today, it's not that they're lazy, but it's like, I don't know. It's like, even what I'm doing right now, it's like, if I were to put this next to a Franklin Booth piece, of course it's a different thing for a different audience in a different way, but it's like the caliber of draftsmanship you need to produce etchings like that is just unbelievable. And I find myself these days being a little impatient with art. And one thing that you'll notice amongst all of the artists who are really remembered in history is those guys had patience and dedication and commitment. And I'm not saying that being remembered is the most important thing as an artist, nor should it be your goal, but it's a cool thing to just pay attention to. Like, are you giving yourself enough time to produce the images that you're producing? Are you really putting in the effort? Are you really trying? Things I think about a lot, and I always want to improve and get better. But yeah. Opinions, baby. Opinions. Opinion. Trying not to rush the end here, because I think this drawing is actually going quite well, but I really don't want to rush the ending. I want to just keep steadily and incrementally improving the drawing. Yeah, one feature of this character that I think gives him a lot of the edge is that strong, distinct canine. Like those strong canine teeth, really intense, distinct canines that, like, it's a really easy way to align a character you're designing with like a common symbol of a predator, which is like, you know, those canine teeth. Like that will really sell. And especially if they have the look of a predator too, which is like typically if the eyes are like this, that's more like predatorial. And if they have the intense canines, you know what I mean? Like the really intense canines here and even down here as well. Like that's just telling you that this guy is like a predator kind of esque character, you know? So yeah. Versus if you do, you know, like a flat teeth, I guess, and kind of more of the like the upturned eyes. Like this is the opposite of a predator, really. But yeah, leaning into those kind of shapes and associations can be really good. Yeah, just remember you can figure this stuff out on your own. Like you don't need some guy on the internet to tell you that this kind of stuff. Like you can figure that out. Oop, hello. All right. I think we're good. All right, first ink of the bunch. What do you guys think? I think it's pretty strong. Pretty strong drawing. I think there's a couple areas where I might want to define a bit more. Like maybe here I could go for a harder shadow or something to give this area a bit more depth on the kind of overhanging of the face. One thing this ink is not including is cast shadows. So for instance, if I were to put a cast shadow for this piece of hair here, like that would add a lot of dimension to the face, but that's just a bit too extreme. Like that's a bit too of an extreme thing. So I'm going to avoid that for now. But yeah, I like it. I think this is a fun one. Funky villainous character. If we kind of flicker back, I think we kept the energy to a pretty good degree and we pushed certain things in a good way. I think I might want to tighten the smile up a little bit. It was getting a little too open-jawed there for my taste, personally. There you go. Heck yeah, looking pretty good. Looking pretty good. All right. Let's jump to the next one. Let's do our scene here, which we did quite early on. So let's kind of go for the ink on this. So this, what I want out of the jacket is to look like that kind of leathery sort of jacket that just like wanting it to feel like an Air Force character, like a pilot character. So you want that nice leathery look. Sarita Duke says, cool, what is this? It's just a sketch I'm working on today. I think I just wanted to ink stuff today. I felt like inking, so I just did some sketches, this one, and this one, and I'm just going to be inking them. So I did the first ink just now of this guy, which was pretty fun. And now I'm going to be inking this image here as well, which is also going to be fun. So I think just because I want to get it right, I want to do the face before I do anything else. So honestly, I should drop the brush size here. There's a bit of a thick brush to be inking this scene. Actually, you know, this is okay. We'll just stick with this. Says, gotta give you applause for getting my name right on the first try. Oh gosh, I've already forgotten what I said. Oh no. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for the congrats. I try to get names right. I feel like I'm starting to get a pretty good idea of like names and stuff, I guess. Can sometimes be a little confusing, but doing my best here. Always want people to feel like themselves, like they're seen and they're fully understood. So when you're inking a character from far away, it can be tempting to start to do all the little details like we did in this one. Like we did a lot of creases in the face, a lot of shapes, like there's a lot of nuances here. You're not going to really be able to do too much of that in a drawing like this, because the read is not just the face, it's the whole image. So actually pulling your punches on the face can really help keep things distinct. So like with the mouth, like keeping things, like you're obviously showing the forms in a successful way. So even something like having this line overlap like this, it's kind of giving the lip a bit more form. We can erase a little bit of the mouth there. Yeah, giving things just a little bit of form. We're not spending a lot of time on like the nose and whatnot. We're really just showing the contour shape against the face here, and then also maybe a little bit of the nostril, but we're not going to be including too much other information. I'm going to tilt the canvas a little bit so I can get that thin of the brush against the face here, because I think that the thick of the brush is just going to be a little too much. Like if I were to do the thick, it would have been really thick like that. So we want a little bit of the thin of the brush there. This is a directional brush, so wherever like I can rotate it. It's at a fixed angle here, but I kind of broke that rule just to get that nice edge there. I think I'll do a couple strands of hair coming out of the helmet here, just to kind of give that nice kind of, squirrely kind of swing, and then swing coming out of the back a little bit. But yeah, keeping it pretty low key, all things considered. So now we got to deal with what we left last time, which is the goggles, like what kind of design we're going to do for the goggles. I think I'm going to stick somewhat close to like a World War II-esque design, where we're going to have the kind of enclosure be pretty distinct. Kind of just let it speak for itself. That kind of hexagonal design. Is it hexagonal? 1, 2, 3, 4? No, I think it's... I don't even know the geometrical term for that. Someone's got to help me out with that, I guess. Listen, I can draw. I can't do geometry. Humor. All right, let's place these goggles a little higher up on the head, because I want the hat to really speak here. I was going to move these up a bit so that they're a bit more in alignment with the eyes. Yeah, a bit more in alignment with the eyes. Gotta adjust the perspective there. Then we've got the actual kind of flight helmet thing here. All right. Nice. Get into a bit of a workflow here. So yeah, once you kind of nail the face, it feels pretty good, and it gives you a lot of confidence to do the rest of the drawing. So it feels good to kind of really nail this face down in kind of very clear terms here. Like I really understand what marks I put down, what they mean, and I can really use that as a good basis for the rest of this drawing as we continue on to do the rest. Do the back of the helmet here. Nice. And then we can have that same kind of shaped hair coming out of the helmet as well. And again, just keep it really loose for this. Like, we don't really want it to be too tidy. Sometimes really tidy inking doesn't suit the energy of the story. And I know that kind of sounds weird because typically you think like you want to do the highest quality drawing possible. But I mean, I would point you to, for instance, like even the Dr. Seuss books, like the style for those, if you go back and look, it's like super janky and like weird and like doesn't make any sense, but it works for what it is. So if you're doing a kind of an uplifting story that's a little bit more on the kind of upbeat side, sometimes being a little bit loose with your drawings and sketches can actually uplift and add to that. Same with like the Ghibli films, like a lot of the proportions and stuff, it's got a lot of energy, but really simplicity is the name of the game for those Ghibli films. If you have the chance, I would definitely check out some interviews of Amy Thompson, who is a Disney art director now. She did I believe she did the work for Raya and the Last Dragon, and her art is great. Even though that movie didn't really resolve in a way that I think kind of landed for people, like the work that she did and her team did, her VizDev team, was incredible. So if you have the chance to check that out, I definitely would. Some of her production design for that and also everything like that. But what's cool about Amy Thompson is she actually started in Japan working at Studio Ghibli. So I think she met Miyazaki on day one, and I don't think they had much interaction after that. But she spoke a lot about how she would be animating, and like the question that would most often be asked is, why did you put that line there? Like, why did you include that line? Especially for like the faces for certain animation. And at a place like Studio Ghibli, they're really looking for like, it's not just the path of least resistance, but it's like the purest form that story can be. They're going to find it, and they're going to do that. So like everything is super simple, yes, but it's like also super clear and narratively coherent. So yeah, just ramblings. Okay. Now we're going to do that. Well, first we're going to do this. If she's going back, we're going to see, yeah. So we are going to see that back kind of elbow patch coming across here, I think. Yeah. You want to think about the body, so like shoulder and then shoulder, arm, elbow patch, like it's kind of making sense. Although, would it be more like back, like it's going up? I guess it's more going up, so be more like this, I think. Maybe a little bit of an angle, but not too much of an angle. It's ever so slight angle. That looks right. We'll keep that the way it is. Let's see. Let's zoom out a bit. All right. We're still clear in terms of what we're doing. Give a more defined upper lip. Maybe a bit too much. All right, let's work on that belt. So what I'm going to do is just drop in that line as is. And we're just going to erase out the areas that we're going to add in other information. It's kind of like the whiteout we saw on the pages, you know? Sometimes you want a nice energetic line, but if we were to draw all of those lines individually, it wouldn't have that same, I don't know, cohesive feeling. So doing the two big lines and then erasing them out can really help you get the energy you want. So the eraser is just as much of a tool as the pen. And I would actually oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes, you can avoid using Control Z and just use the eraser for a while, and it's kind of a good vibe sometimes. I say Control Z like crazy. That's what's his name? Aaron Blaze does with digital art. He just uses the eraser. He never Control Z's. I think there's a wisdom in that. You know, good method to the madness, I suppose. All right. We'll add in those sections we were thinking about adding in before. However, I think we might go with a little bit more of an understated look. Definitely add in a bit of a reinforced thing, but we want to make it more coherent with the rest of the image. So sometimes omitting detail can be really important and necessary when you want your design to read really well. Okay, so let's see. We got the hair, the collar's looking good. I mean, things are looking good. It's looking pretty clean, I think. Let's see. Let's do these lines here. Don't ask me why I flipped it upside down. It's just it felt right, and the line worked. So there you go. Figure drawing says, do you prefer working on many things concurrently? I guess it may depend on your mood. I mean, you kind of answered it. Yeah, it definitely depends on my mood. I think that for the past few years, amidst client work, teaching, and all that stuff, like it's actually been a minute since I've really like finished a good body of work. But that's also because I think for me, I've been in a bit of a miasma of like rapid skill expansion and like really improving a lot. So it's hard when your skill set is changing so much in a short amount of time to, I don't know, kind of direct your focus towards like a more long form concurrent thing that you're doing kind of like in that moment. That being said, I would like to be doing more of that. I would like to be doing more of the latter. I'd prefer to be doing the more, I guess, long form stuff. Like I think that there's a few ideas that I've been cooking on for a while that really just need to get finished before I can move on with my life, really, to be honest. So that's probably why I've been wanting to stream a lot more, is because I think it's just it's good. It keeps me drawing and it kind of gets me in that zone where I want to be finishing a bunch of stuff. But yeah, for the personal project things, you're always in the battle of like, you know, are my bills paid? Can I afford to focus on this thing that is not a guaranteed income? Or, you know, is it time for another class, or is it time to take on another client? It's always like a lot of it has to do with, you know, even just the financial realities of life, what you actually have time to do. Because if you're a freelancer, you know, when you're working on something that's not work, then you're not earning money. So it's like it's sometimes hard to work on your own stuff as a freelancer. but it's looking like I'm not going to be in a position where, like, location wise, where I can work in house for probably a large chunk of my life. So odds are I'm going to be freelancing for a long time. But what's been nice is that I've been really developing my material for the teaching stuff. So the goal is that I can put out some asynchronous educational material, like MedsMap or other kind of self-study courses, but specifically for character design, just kind of teaching my method, how I think, helping people just to draw, and having it at a very fair price. So I'm really conscious of the fact that people in other countries cannot afford US prices. Like, I'm really conscious of that. Like, it's highly unlikely that someone in Brazil could afford to take one of my courses, because it's like impossible for them financially with the conversion rate and all of that stuff. So I'm really conscious of that. So I want to make sure that there's some materials out there for people who can't they can't like afford to take all these classes that a lot of people can in the West to improve. So yeah, I'm conscious of that. So ideally it would be something that could obviously support the work that I'm doing, both educational and also just project wise. Like, I know a lot of people have been wanting the Fish World art book or the Sky Pirates art book, and it's just like the time. It's like, if I can make the time to finish it and then make it available for people, and then they can, buy it, and it's kind of becomes profitable, it just takes time. So if you don't have the time to develop it, it can't make you money if it's not done. So that's the kind of paradox thing of, but that's why doing a little bit every day is so important, and making the time every day, which is what I've been doing these days. But it's a hard balance as a professional artist to figure out what you should be doing when, at what time, and no one's there to tell you what to do, really. You got to figure it out kind of on your own. Sarita says there's a Fish World book. Dude, it's in the works, man. It's in the works. My goal for this year is to really finish those key projects I've been working on for a while, like the Sky Pirates book and the Fish World book, and just like really get them done. There's so many more things I want to do, It's like you got to finish your ideas so that you can do the other things you want to do. Bane says, watching from Brazil, by the way. I love your drawings. Thanks, dude. I appreciate that. I love Brazil. I love Brazilian music. I love Brazilian artists, man. Beautiful culture. Really wonderful people. Like, yeah, every Brazilian person I've met has become my friend. So there you go. Futebol do Brasil. Tudo bem. Hell yeah, Marco knows. Brasil. That's awesome. If I can make Brazilian people laugh, that's awesome. Saúde. Hell yeah, Marco. Marco knows. Exactly. Exactly. Exactly, Bane. You get it. I went to, I think, 3 Brazilian concerts last year. There's this guy I love. His name is Roger, or Roger for our Western viewers. But really incredible music and just really great energy, and yeah, I love Brazilian music a lot. Exactly, Marco. Exactly. Yeah, I don't know what about my life has warranted this, but I've been around a large amount of Brazilians for some reason. Like I've like taught summer camps of like Brazilian exchange students, and I've just been around a lot of Brazilians for some reason. I don't know. I don't know why, but I just have been. Do you like bossa nova? Do I ever? Love bossa nova. Love samba. Love it all. I love it all, man. I'm going to move my sketch down a little bit so I can better get this angle, because I think I've changed the angle slightly. Or do I want to just leave it? I'll just leave it for now. Yeah, I mean, you can't beat our boy João Gilberto, which I remember I said that wrong once in front of a Brazilian person, and they were not happy with me, man. Sarita says, I only can imagine how much time you take to draw in your free time. As a full college student, it's rough trying to plan to draw for myself. Oof, yeah, that's rough. Yeah, Marco's right. They understand what's important. All right, so we're zooming in for the first time, I think, because you really want to get these shapes down in a good way. It's not your fault. The ow is hard to say. It's true. It's true. Nice. Heck yeah. Yeah, I'm good friends with a bunch of really amazing Brazilian artists like Lu Frenassi, Luisa Bera, Piloreta, or Lorena Pimenta. It's great. They're just the best. They're so kind and so passionate. Brazilian artists are so passionate about what they do. It's awesome. I mean, I'm speaking in absolutes here and blanket statements, which is maybe not so good to do, but my experience has been this. My experience has been good. That's what I'll say. All right, this inking is going well, I must say. So I think on this side, what I want to do is kind of like imply an overlap. So like on the other side, it's the same kind of steel cage, but it's being obscured, like it's offset slightly because of the angle of the bike and the viewing. So it gets this really nice, cool depth effect here. Like it just looks so pleasing. Like that shape of the bike now looks so pleasing because of that really nice implied depth. Yeah, man, love drawing. Drawing is so much fun. All right, let's get this one wrapped up. So this one, I think I'm gonna leave in like a somewhat of an unfinished state because like there's a few things I gotta figure out. Like I didn't really plan for the engine block or anything behind for this design. So like I think I'll have to for now just kind of like black it out, I guess, of like what I haven't designed or don't know what it's gonna look like yet, or like I have to kind of do that a little bit. Um, cool. And yeah, I just want to say I really just appreciate everyone who's tuned in today. I've been having like a lot of fun inking. I really appreciate the questions and the fun we're having in chat and just everyone who's like working and kind of drawing alongside the video. Like I know a lot of you guys are just kind of lurking, sketching as well, or like listening while doing something else, and just want to send you guys good vibes. Make sure you're feeling good and feeling excited about your life, you know. It's pretty cool. Pretty cool to be able to enjoy drawing. Sometimes it's easy to forget like how lucky we are to live in a age where anyone can learn to draw. It used to just be for like the uber wealthy who could learn how to draw, but everyone can learn to draw now. It's amazing, including myself. Like I'm just so grateful. Starlight Production says, I feel like I want to give up. Oh, man. It's mad unfortunate, dude. Well, I mean, giving up on what? On drawing? I mean, one thing about drawing is, like, it never leaves you, you know? Like, you can put it down and pick it up after a while. Like, I think that one thing people tend to do a lot is, and they don't really do this with other things. Like, if you're a good singer, people aren't like how are you going to make money singing? Like they don't do that immediately, you know what I mean? And if you're like a dancer, people don't go like, well, how are you going to make money dancing? It's just kind of cool that you're a dancer, or it's just kind of cool that you're a singer, or that you like play piano or do whatever. Like most other art forms, like it's just kind of chill for the most part. Like people just like that you can do it. But for some reason, I don't know why, but with visual art, people immediately go, well, how are you going to make money? Like how are you going to do it? How are you going to make money? And it's, I think that just really makes people feel like garbage, because if you like if someone said like I want to become a lawyer and you're like, oh man, well how are you going to make money right now? It's like, oh well, first I have to go to, you know, undergrad, then I have to go to law school, then I have to pass the bar, then I have to be a junior, then I have to do this, then I have to do that. It's like there's so many steps to become a lawyer, there's so many steps to become an engineer, so many steps to become like a doctor or whatever. And it's the same with art, man. It takes a long time to get good at art. Are you kidding me? But people have this like idea about art that it's this vacuum of talent. Either you have talent or you don't have talent. The incredibly beautiful and wondrous reality is that like most of that stuff is just kind of BS, man. Like anyone can become an incredible draftsman. Anyone on planet Earth can become an incredible draftsman if given enough time, proper instruction, and they just do it enough. Like it will happen. So, you know, in that same kind of like mode of thinking, you know, when wanting to give up, like I would ask, what are you wanting to give up? Are you wanting to give up on becoming a career artist? Because that's like becoming a career artist is like becoming a pro athlete. It's like, you know, pro athletes are in the gym or on the field every day, and when they're not, they're resting intentionally. So if you're not doing that, how can you possibly want to become a professional artist if you're not training to become a professional artist? And then you're in this zone where you're feeling like a failure, even though you're not really like giving yourself proper data. It's like, you're not sad that you're not an NBA All-Star. Like, it's obvious to you why you're not an NBA All-Star. But it's like, you don't have to give up basketball just because you're not an NBA All-Star. If you want to become a professional artist, I would really consciously think about what you have to do to become that. Like, what you literally have to do to become a professional artist. And it's more attainable than you think, but it's also probably more work than you think. And, you know, it might be more work than you can do within a reasonable time frame right now. But what I'll say is that there's this kind of weird guarantee in art that if you just keep drawing, you'll get better. And it's not the same as other things, because like in other things you kind of age out, right? Like, there's a certain age in which it's very hard to become like a famous musician. There's a certain age in which it's very hard to succeed as an actor or whatever. Like, usually it's like hard, like you kind of get aged out with some things, or with sports especially. But, you know, with art, you just keep getting better. And, you know, a lot of guys I know, they make it in their 30s. Like, they make it in their 30s or sometimes their 40s. You know, it's like, it takes a long time to get good at this. So, you know, very rare that someone has things lined up in a way that would allow them to become a professional artist, like while they're young. You know, it's a very particular formula. And it also, like, it depends on what profession you want to go into. You know, like, a lot of people want to get into concept art. It's a bit rough right now, but, you know, doable. A lot of people want to get into illustration. Again, what kind of illustration, you know, and for what and when? It's like, so many of these questions are unknown even to you. It's like, you got to become clear about that stuff. I'm just unsolicitedly giving advice right now. But yeah, it's just important, I guess. Figure Drawing says, I think some people question art because they think it's all fun and games, when in reality, creative careers are not common. No, they're not common, and it's not easy. Like, it's actually incredibly hard. Like, if you want to get a stable job with no degree or anything like that, just go get your welder's license, like become a welder or something, you know, or a plumber, or, you know, like, do that. It's like way better than this in terms of like just, you know, time to career. Varun says, how many hours do you think you should be spending if you want to be a professional? I mean, it depends. I mean, that's the most annoying question and the most annoying answer, because if you want to become a professional artist, it's like, let's first do a few things, right? Like, let's say that the first most important barrier of entry is that you can draw well. That's the first thing. So if you can draw well, that means that you can put down form in a compelling way. You can draw form. Like, if I wanted to draw like a skateboard wheel or something, like I could draw a skateboard wheel, like a slightly rounded wheel, and I could draw the kind of divot inside and the bearing that would be, you know, there or whatever. Like, I can do that, and I can just draw forms like that pretty much like at will, right? And that's because I've spent, I can't even calculate how many thousands of hours on drawing. Like, I can't tell you how many. Like, it's impossible to guess. But a lot. I've been drawing a lot. So because I've been drawing a lot, my pen tends to obey my mind. Like, my hand tends to obey my mind. But if you're just starting out, that stuff is hard to do. It's like you get up on a high wire in a circus and you're expecting not to fall. Like, you're gonna fall. It's gonna be a long time before you can stand up there confidently without the fear of falling. So you just need to do it a lot. So that's the first barrier, right, to becoming a professional artist, is just to being able to draw. And that's where most of the content on YouTube is geared towards. It's like, be able to draw. But then beyond that, let's say you want to go into something a bit more specific. Like, you actually want a strong career. It's got a good basis, and, you know, you're going to have a good time. So you say, like, okay, like, let's say I want to be a character designer, because I can only really speak to my own experience, right? So it's like, okay, now you need to be able to draw well. Now you need to understand the human body enough to that you can draw humans correctly, right? Which is that it's not incorrect, because that's what you don't want to do. You don't want to be incorrect, but let's just say that's the barrier, right? So now you got to be able to draw people. So, okay, now you got to learn human anatomy. You got to learn at least the very basics you got to learn, which is a lot of work, a lot of study, a lot of stuff. Then, all right, you get that down. Now you've got human anatomy, you can draw well, and all of that stuff. It's like, okay, now who are you drawing? Who is it? Why do they exist? Where do they exist? You know, and it's like, now you're in theory land. Can you even breathe in theory land? Like, probably not, you know, like, so what I teach a lot in my courses is a combination of practical skills and also theory, because theory is super important. But then there's that. But then let's say that you want to just be an illustrator. You got to understand composition. You got to understand how to place things in perspective. And then everything has to be drawn correctly. Like, it can't be incorrect. So it's like, map that out in hours. It's impossible. What I can say is I've seen people do very well, spending like a few years of hard study, completely from scratch, being able to do quite well. Like, what I've seen is within a few years, like let's say 3, I've seen people go from like an engineer, like in school, they were an engineer or a career engineer or something, and they've gone into being like a concept artist. But usually what they're concepting are like hard surface things. So it's like boxes and, like a spaceship design. It's like in the world of engineering where they already have kind of like a bit of a basis of information. So usually there's that edge as well. Like, so they're drawing things that they know, and usually it's inanimate objects, but sometimes characters. But that's a path I've seen. I mean, famous example, modern day James was a medical student, dropped out, became an artist, and in a few years he learned how to draw form, learned how to draw in perspective, learned how to draw the human figure, characters. Now he's a Netflix animator, and it took him how many years? Like 6, 7, maybe a bit more, who knows? So it's like, if you want to be a doctor, like 8 years of your life is just going to fly by before you can start, So it's like, you can't compare. I don't know, like, it's hard to compare and say, like, I want to be a professional artist without knowing what it means. And also, you're kind of fighting an uphill battle because our world is not set up to provide artists with the resources they need. Like, it's the opposite. Like, it's working against you because everyone's telling you an art career doesn't work. So that makes you become stubbornly obsessed with an art career, and it stops you from looking at it practically, which is what you need to do if you actually want to do it. Like, you have to have a level of practicality when you're looking to have an art career. Like, if you don't have a level of practicality, and like, you need a cause and effect, otherwise you're just going to be having no idea where success is going to be. You're going to be having no idea where to orient yourself. So like, you need an if this, then this, right? So if this, let's say, like, if like I draw every day, and it's also like with the intention of improving and my understanding and skill. So like with the intention or whatever, let's just say I wrote that down. Then this, right? Then this. And the then this is that, like, I will improve my faculties for draftsmanship, right? So I'll be able to draw well, and I'll be able to express myself on the page in a more effective way. And that'll allow you to explore creative ideas, compositional ideas, and all of these things with a greater clarity. Yeah, so that's some opinions there, but it's impossible because, like, people always ask questions like, what do I need to put in my portfolio to get a job as an artist? It's like, dude, if you're asking that question, you can't do the job. It's like, you got to understand the job first. Like, if you want to be a concept artist, let's say for environments, and you're saying, what do I need to put in my environment portfolio? It's like, you got to ask, what do companies want from an environment artist? Like, you have to be able to communicate a space clearly. So you need to have an understanding of color and light. The space needs to have a specific function, right? So if it's a gameplay function or like a set design function, if it's for animation or whatever, and then you need to actually be able to put that down on paper effectively. So they're going to probably want 3D skills. They're probably going to want to see that you can effectively map light onto the space and have scale properly addressed, and the idea is strong. Like, you can answer that question yourself. Character design is sometimes a bit more elusive. Like, that's been really hard, even for me when I was starting out, like, what to put in my character design portfolio. Because, like, the most important thing is that you want to be able to show that you can draw characters very well. The formatting, it kind of becomes more of a minutia over time, and it really depends on the studio on like what they want. But yeah, it's that's what I'd say about that. But it's like, yeah. Anyway, I feel like I don't want to be a doomer or anything. Moral of the story is, don't quit art, man. Like, quitting art, totally not the way to go. Like, you just need to gain greater clarity about what your goals are and what you want to accomplish with your art. Because when you can figure that out, you'll have a much easier time moving forward with your life. Yeah. Damn, I kind of popped off there. Oh, sorry if that was too intense, guys. I really I feel very strongly about a lot of this stuff. And it makes me sad when I see artists who feel hopeless. Like, that for me is the worst. Like, you should not feel hopeless. Like, you can do it. Like, you can so do it. You can do it because I did it. That's why you can do it, because I did it. And because I know a lot of other people who did it. That's why you can do it. You absolutely can, and I believe in you. And don't question yourself for a moment. Just get focused, get specific, stay motivated, get after it. You got this, dude. Absolutely. Listen, if the muses choose you, they've chosen you. You can't ignore it. Yeah, and if you quit without giving it your all, come on. That's no way to live. You got to go for it, buddy. Bane says, and shape design. Don't even get me started on shape design, dude. I'm gonna kill the next person who says shape design. My gosh. Shape design is one of my biggest pet peeves in the art community, like the discourse around shape design. Anyway. Wishpaint says Miyazaki didn't get well known until his 40s with his movie Nausicaa. Exactly. Nausicaa in the Valley of the Wind. So it's like, takes time with this stuff. Varun says, sometimes I feel like I can understand the fundamentals, but actually applying it to some sort of artistic vision is the part I just don't understand. Well, it's going to come, your understanding is going to come from a process, not of trial and error, but a process of exploration, right? So you're looking for greater clarity. You can't find clarity while you're sitting in obscurity. So you have to move forward to find clarity, even if that clarity is this doesn't work or this isn't it. Like, so moving forward and just pressing on. And that's why I mentioned when I was laying out the if this then this, like working, you're drawing every day with the intention of improving your capacity to draw and like understanding what you're drawing. Like, those things are really important to go hand in hand. Nab says, thanks for all the motivation. Hopping back into drawing, but your speech filled me with so much optimism right now. Oh, I'm so glad. Let's go. Vern said, understand and know how to study the fundamentals and know what is required for the task. Yeah, exactly. Okay, I'm glad it wasn't dooming. It's just, you got to be clear, man, because if you're not clear, you're dead in the water. Like, that's that, I think. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, I would just encourage him to look to the future, more so seeking like a greater clarity of my own goals. I mean, what's interesting is that when I was younger, I had a very strong intuition, which is that no matter what I want to do in art, I'm going to be grateful for the skills I develop today. So even if I switch careers and I end up doing like comic art or something like next year instead of character design or teaching or whatever, I will have the skills of drawing that will support that transition. Like, I will be able to draw anything I want. So then that's not like a problem. You know what I mean? So that I always knew when I was younger. Like, I'm going to be grateful for the work I put in today in like many years. And of course, it's never enough. You always wish you did more. You always wish you studied more and practiced more and worked more. But I worked as hard as I worked, and it got me to where I am now, which I'm incredibly grateful for. And I'm working hard every day now to make, 30-year-old Gabriel happy. Like, which is a few years away from me. Like, it's creeping up, Still alive. Heck yeah. Absolutely, Ryan. Absolutely. I think this is going to be a long one today. I did say I would keep streaming until I finished inking, and I'm still inking. Ugh. Might have to call this one soon. Welter says, I'm hungry. Buddy, me too. My girlfriend said she would cook dinner tonight, so gonna go over to her place and we're gonna have dinner. I'm so excited. Man. Sometimes you just need to stare into the eyes of the person you love and remember what really matters in life. And I am in need of that today. All right, we're going to increase the brush size here, and we're just going to black these areas out. I'm lazy. Just pretend there's cool engine stuff down here. I'll just start to obscure it, start to drop in some shadows so people kind of accept, like, oh, okay, there's like engine stuff down there. Of course there is. That makes sense. There you go. Man, there's that famous comic adage of when in doubt, black it out, which is like used when you don't understand something. You just you just black it out, which pencilers hate a lot of the time. Or it actually means that the penciler probably didn't do their job well enough. All right, that's pretty fun. I like this sketch a lot. I feel like the head placement's a little bit off. I think I want to place it a little bit more like here. Like that feels a bit more correct to me. Or we could still have the head raised a bit, but I think just having it be back there, yeah, that's reading a lot more correct to me. Let's flip it back. Yeah, that feels good. There we go. Boom, bam. Look at that. Looking good. Looking good. Okay. Last one is the monkey, guys, and then I'm signing off. Let's find our monkey. Dude, he's so cute. Oh, man. How am I even going to do this one? All right. Let's do this one with a lot of energy. All right. It's funny, Sarita. It's funny. Nice. Marcus says, regarding hopes and goals, I think you'd be impressed in how much you can do in a short amount of time if you're determined enough to go for it. At least that's my experience. That is absolutely right. It's like a really strong 3 hours of focus is like better than, 10 hours of like mindless nothingness, Wish Paint says, I'm making a webcomic. Congratulations. That's fantastic. Absolutely do it. Publish it. Put it out there. Go for it. Walter says, the only the boys I know is the show. What is this for? Oh, man. It's more like, colloquially, like it's for the boys, like one for the boys kind of vibe. Don't worry. I'll do something next week for the girls, We'll be painting for the girls next week, I think. Thanks, Marco. I appreciate that. Grim says, I made a goal to record and fill an entire sketchbook. Absolutely do that. That's a great thing to do. Abe said, it's been really nice listening and drawing. Dude, heck yeah. Ryan says, straight fire. Dude, know you. Kordzerdi says, I recently started getting into drawing. Should I be worried about AI? I feel like I'm too late. A good question. An excellent question. Should you be worried about AI? I mean, I would say like for what? I mean, what is AI going to rob you of the joy of drawing? Um, AI can never take drawing away from you. I mean, honestly, I kind of avoid talking about AI, but ugh, it's just so icky, man. Generative AI is so icky to me, dude. It's so weird. Uh, I mean, listen, man. From my experience, like the only people who are really in danger with I think, are like illustrators of kind of the lowest caliber, in my opinion. Like I went to New York Comic Con this week. I went to Lightbox this week, and like, dude, the demand for art, good art, and like real art is huge. Like it's huge. Like if you were planning on trying to scrape by as like a mediocre artist and that was like your big goal for life, then maybe you should be afraid of AI, because AI is going to make uh, mediocre imagery way faster and better than, you know, a human can. But from what I've seen, from what I understand, I don't think AI can create a true work of mastery. And people love art. Like that's one thing that I've realized this past year is like people love art. I honestly undervalued a lot of my art and what I can do. Like I undervalued my ability to draw a lot. And especially when you spend time with a lot of really high level artists and like really amazing artists, like oftentimes it can feel like, oh, well, what am I doing? Or what can I do? You know, like that's kind of something that can come up a lot. And it was kind of coming up for me a little bit, not going to lie. And then I tabled at Lightbox this year, and man, when I just tell you like the kind of words of encouragement people had for my work during that expo, like it honestly changed my outlook on life, and it made me not afraid of AI at all because of just how much people love even what I do. And like AI can probably produce stuff that's quote better than what I do, you know? Um, I don't know. But yeah, I will just tell you that the demand for art is never going to go away. It's like the demand for music. AI can make music, but the demand for music is never going to go away. So I wouldn't worry about it too much, I guess. I can see how it would be a worry if you're starting out, because AI can spit out something like faster than you can, and much better than you can, especially when you're first starting to draw. But you're like, because AI has a cap, right? And AI has like a cap, like it's gonna hit a ceiling. But if you're someone who's aiming for like ultimate mastery of your craft, you can exceed that ceiling like infinitely, basically. So I wouldn't worry too much. Plus, it's like the whole thing of like, if you really love art and you just go for it every day and you love it and it just becomes the center point of your life, it's like you're gonna do well, you know? You can't do it halfway though. Like you can't do half effort and hope to succeed. It's just not gonna work, unfortunately. And nor would you want it to, really. So if you're gonna go for it, really go for it. I'll tell you guys, I tell a story sometimes, but I did not have an option in my life. Like I had to do art because for those of you who don't know, like I missed like 4 years of school when I was a kid. Like from age 10 to 14, I was just not in school at all. Long story, I won't get into it, but I wasn't. And when I went back into school, I was so behind, and I felt behind. I felt like a failure, man, because I just didn't know certain things. Like certain things in like math, like PEMDAS or whatever, or, like multiplication before this, before that. Like I didn't know that. So I was getting things wrong just because I didn't know it. I didn't understand grammar. I didn't understand so many different things. And like I would ask for help, but the teachers just would not help me because they like didn't believe that I didn't know this stuff, but I just didn't know it. So I just missed a ton of, like, I was just so behind. And the main thing though was the mentality. I felt behind. That was the worst part of it. So when it came time for me to decide what I wanted my life to be, and at this point I had fully caught up and I was actually like ahead of like most people in my school. Like I ended up getting into a Canadian boarding school and doing very well there, and I was actually really ahead there. But I like didn't feel ahead. I still felt behind. So I kind of decided on like the only thing that I've ever been better than everyone else at was art. Because like, what did I do during those 4 years, you might ask? I drew in my sketchbook. So when I went back to school, even though I was behind in everything, I was ahead of everyone in art, like everyone, and by like multiple years. And that was like became my personality was, oh, you know, Gabriel isn't good at school, but he's good at art. And that became like my life was, I'm not good at school, but I'm good at art. I'm not good at school, but I'm good at art. Turns out I am good at school when school is interesting and when I understand what's going on. But I was certainly not doing well in school at that time. So I did not even think of applying for anything other than art. Art was my only option. It was my lifeline. It was the only thing I was good at. So I ended up getting a degree in illustration in England, and that was really cool. And then COVID happened. I graduated in the year 2020 from art school, so that was a lot of fun. But I broke into like the video games, concept art stuff. I did it fully online during COVID, so that was an interesting adventure for me. But where was I going with this? Oh yeah, I never had an option with art, so I always had to go all in with art. I never had a backup plan. I never had anything else that I was planning on doing. Like it was always going to be art for me. So that I think gave me a lot of energy to pursue it with a kind of feverish passion that is not that common, I think. So I think like in that regard, and also it's that thing of like positive reinforcement begets positive reinforcement. So no matter what advice I give you guys, that was always my reality. So I'm giving advice from that reality of like art is my only option. Art is my only salvation. Like, and it really was for me. It was the only way I was getting respect from anybody. It was the only way I could feel like I was worth anything, especially when I was younger. Now it's interesting because art is not my identity anymore. Like I love to draw, but it's not my identity. So that's been an interesting development for me is like what to do in the face of that change. It's been really hard actually because like losing your identity is tough. But yeah, I think that taking on certain like I guess labels when I was young, like I'm not good at school, like that was so toxic. And dude, honestly, like hats off to whoever let me do that. Like hats off to the people who let me say that stuff to myself and like let me just believe that about myself, dude. Like good job. Good job to all the people who watch like an adolescent young man like just limit his life. Oh man, dude. And obviously I have some strong feelings about this stuff. Yeah, it was like I never had another option than art. And it's interesting because now I can kind of just draw whatever I want and sort of make whatever I want. So the big question is like the what. And, you know, I worked in the industry for a little bit, you know, for a couple of years, and it's been interesting. I got to say, it's not all it's cracked up to be. Like, it's not that fun to work in the industry. I will say that. So my big thing is like, what next? Like, that's my kind of vibe right now. Really glad I started streaming because it's just been so much fun to think out loud and share. And it's been so much fun teaching as well because it's helped consolidate my process and what I understand, what I know, and learn what I don't know. And, but yeah, definitely looking to just be producing more art for me, I guess, or more art for me for the world, if that makes sense. Like I want to be achieving my goals with art, which is to uplift the world. And it's hard to do that in an animation or game studio because, you know, stuff that make you draw is kind of weird. I'm not going to lie. Let's check on the chat. I just totally zoned out for a minute there. What were we talking about? AI? Oh yeah, we're talking about AI. AI art is not real art. Well, that's true, I suppose. Marcus says, I keep hearing non-artists say stuff like, this game sucks. It feels like AI wrote the story, or use AI as a pejorative term for stuff they don't like. That's true. That's true. I take them as AI started to feel generic across the masses. Well, AI, unfortunately, has hit a critical mass because AI can't learn from the internet anymore because there's AI art on the internet and it doesn't know how to check for itself. So it can't learn now. Like, it can't learn from the internet in the way that it did before. Because when AI cannibalizes its own data, it goes like berserk crazy mode. Michael Furness says, I've yet to see AI art produce work that can follow a client brief to completion. I don't think AI advocates realize how picky clients are. Dude, that's been my experience, man. That has been my experience, is like, or I get handed an AI image and they're like, could you fix this? I'm like, buddy, I could have done a better job from scratch in a shorter amount of time than fix this garbage. But no, the client's attached to their really bad Gen AI thing. I almost had like a falling out with somebody over that. Oh no, I'm starting to pop off. I'm starting to speak with intensity. I'm getting too comfortable on the stream. Sarita Duke says, you only retain knowledge when you're enjoying what you're doing. It's true. A big component of retaining information is full engagement, and keeping something joyful is a way to have that full engagement. Sarita also says, kids wouldn't have such a hard time if school taught this too. Well, this is true. Wish says, drawing is how I connect with people since I'm not good at socializing. Well, you're not good at socializing yet. Also, what is socializing, really? Let's look at it clearly as like a definition. You know what I mean? It's like maybe you don't know what to say. Maybe you're confused, but it doesn't mean you can't learn. Yeah, you guys would have a hard time believing this, but I was an incredibly shy person when I was younger. Like, incredibly shy. And I remember when I was 16, I decided I wouldn't be shy. It was like a weird, I don't know, thing where you like look at yourself in the mirror and you're like, you will no longer do this. And I think I've created a kind of, I don't know, extrovert persona that's been very useful, I guess, for me. I will happily tell all my art friends the good news. Nice. Ryan says, can you fix this? Can you fix this? Is crazy. Dude, it was crazy, and it was so annoying, man. Oh my gosh, it was so annoying. My goodness. Oh, brother. Oh, brother, for real. Vern says, Gabriel, you're going about this the wrong way. The passion rants is the perfect segue to shill the Patreon Discord. Oh, man. Yeah, I do rant a lot on the Patreon Discord, I won't lie. If you guys are curious about joining the art community, many of the folks in the chat are in already. I run a awesome Discord where we do character design challenges, world building assignments, fun stuff on occasion, and we do a lot of live events too. And it's a really great community of awesome artists, and you can join the Discord through the Patreon in the description. It is only $3 a month, very, very low price. I want to keep it super low, like I mentioned before, for folks who are in other countries and whatnot, and also just because it's a Discord where we do a lot of events and activities, and it's nothing crazy. That's why the Patreon's so cheap, and it's a great way to support the stream as well if you appreciate what I do. It's kind of the only way that these streams are like worth it for me to do right now, because I haven't gone down the clickbait route yet. I might start though. Like I might put out some clickbait stuff in the near future, just because I feel like it's the only way to deliver good information is like like a clickbait title like you guys would probably click on like why you're not improving from art tutorials. Like you'd probably click on that, but it would secretly be like a really wholesome message about how you got to learn the things that are kind of in between the lines, not just the objectives of the tutorial, but what the tutorial implies as well, and also to discern whether or not a tutorial is actually a good one or not. But yeah, anyway, I don't know. I might start doing some clickbaity stuff. We'll see. But yeah, I would highly recommend the Patreon Discord. Super awesome community. Very driven community who like care a lot about world building and drawing and art and just, yeah, wholesome. Altogether very wholesome. I don't know what creature this is, but he's like a weird little guy. And he's on a little rock. And the rock is... Let's add some depth to some of the hair here. All right. Well, you guys are popping off in the chat. Damn. DH said, I need to read Drawing with the Right Side of the Brain. Have you heard of it? I've heard of it. I haven't read it. Sarita says, I think getting through the awkward feelings of talking to people helped me with socializing. Good advice. Ryan says, shyness was my biggest hindrance too. Still an obstacle, but I've definitely learned a lot over the years. Awesome. Marco said, join our cult. Everyone said Gabe Discord is the best art community. I agree. It's gotten that review a lot of the best art community. Sarita Duke says, sure, not everyone will be your friend, but I think it's just genuinely being open to people. That's true. You're not going to please everybody. Lord knows I don't. Noel Ram says, is Photoshop the best for inking? I do not know. I think whatever you're most comfortable with is the best for inking. Whatever you like the most is the best for inking. I don't think software doesn't make a big difference for inking, to be honest. A lot of people like Clip because in Clip you can like edit your lines after the fact, but that is a coward's way to make art, in my opinion. That's a joke, by the way. That's a joke. I do not care how you make art. But I like Photoshop. Photoshop's nice. A lot of people don't like the brush engine. I like the brush engine. I think it's just familiarity, to be honest. I don't really know. But yeah, I like Photoshop a lot. Photoshop was like a huge revelation in my art journey. Like just learning Photoshop was so huge for me. And it also like unlocked professional avenues, like concept art and stuff is, in my opinion, a lot easier in Photoshop than in like, I was a what's the word? Procreate user for ages. But I kind of sort of don't use it that much anymore just because like concept art, I feel like my process for concept art is just really solidified in Photoshop. And even for illustration now, it's starting to really solidify in Photoshop, less so in Procreate. But Procreate's awesome. I love Procreate. A lot of people like are just Procreate only at this point. They only use Procreate, and I really salute those guys. Like, they all have really strong processes from what I can see. Oh, dude, I gotta get off stream so I can go eat. Because I'm gonna hop on the train and go see my girlfriend, and it's gonna be a while before I consume food. I gotta go. But I said I would finish inking these guys, so I'm going to. These hands, I'm not really proud of these hands. It's kind of, we're just gonna leave it at that. We're gonna leave it at I'm not proud of these hands. I mean, what did we say before? When in doubt, black it out. Let's go. There you go. All right, this guy's pretty fun, I gotta say. Gonna add some big splotchy marks to give a lot more mass to the hair, because we're using these big tones to kind of show what's in shadow, so it's giving a lot of dimension to the big fluffy hair tufts that this guy has. The texture is nice too. Texture's a good touch. This is kind of bending the definition of what inking is, I guess, but it's also not, I suppose, because sometimes inking's the last step, and if this is the last step, then this is the last step. I hope you guys have appreciated the topics we've covered in today's stream. definitely got a little off the rails there for a minute. I definitely said a lot more than I think I was expecting to say on many different subjects, but what I hope is that you guys feel empowered and inspired to make the art you want to make and the way you want to make it, with a strong sense of intention and commitment. That's what I really care about for you guys. All right. Add some weird shapes to this weird rock. Sometimes you gotta have a weirdly shaped rock, am I right? All right, friends, this has been an absolute blast. Let's kind of get an overview of what we did today. Oh, man, look at this little guy. He's so weird. Oh man, I guess I should sign these, right? This guy's cool. I like him a lot. We did a funky monkey character. Oh, it's got a shadow under the nose. There you go. What else did we do? We did a sneaky villainous character. Hello, hello. Kind of works with the blue more, to be honest. This guy needs some painting for sure. That was a fun one. We did a lot of work here. That was great. And then we did a pretty compelling scene. This was a really fun one. You know, a lot of clear information. Pretty strong, I think. Yeah, we did a lot of fun stuff, guys. Heck yeah, nice. So yeah, with that, I think I'll start to wrap up the stream. Like I said, I hope everyone had a really fun time in today's stream. Let's just take a look at the chat one more time. All right, make sure I didn't miss anything. Thought he was monkey. He is a monkey. He is for sure. The best digital art too is MS Paint. Absolutely. MS Paint is king for real, for real. Procreate is not nice on my neck. Very true. Maintaining good posture is hard. I love Procreate, but using Krita and Clip on my PC mostly. Yeah, Krita's great. I learned originally on Krita. Like old Krita before it was good. Yep, they use Procreate for sure. Evan Amundsen and Nicholas Cole. Noel Ram says that's an awesome brush. Thank you very much. My brushes right now, I don't have a finished brush pack right now, but you can get my brushes through my Discord. It's in the resources and inspiration and resources section. It's pinned. P. Garza says, make them feet big. Yeah, I love big feet. It's always a fun thing for creature design. Marcus says, I felt I couldn't draw in Procreate for some reason, but I'm starting to dig it more and more recently. Heck yeah. Derailed Gabriel. I'm always derailed, pretty much. Unhinged content, clickbait thumbnail. Absolutely. Let's do it. It looks like his name is Gerald. Yeah, Gerald is close for sure. Really fun stream. Awesome. Cool. Paint tool size goated. I've heard paint tool size goated. All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up for real this time. For those of you who made it through the whole stream, thank you so much for watching. We've been going for 2.5 hours. Oh, that's a feature film right there. You could have watched a feature film instead of this. So thank you. Thank you for sticking with the stream. We did a lot of inking this time. We actually finished some inks, which is nice. Yeah, if you want to support the channel, you can join the Patreon and join our Discord. Don't forget to like and subscribe and comment what you liked seeing and what you want to see more of, I guess. I take requests typically. Yeah, you guys rule. I hope you're happy, and I want you to be happy, and I want you to be doing what brings you joy with art, which is usually making work that is aiming to uplift the world in some way. So I'm wishing you good luck on that mission, and yeah, just good vibes all around. All right, guys, we're gonna call it there. Much love.